The year was 2087. Cities floated above oceans, cars flew through magnetic highways, and the moon was no longer just a dream. It was humanity's next home. Inside a massive glass tower in New Chicago, two young men stood side by side staring at a holographic poster that read, Luna 1, Humanity's Next Step. Ethan Cole, 29, tall with sharp gray eyes, had always dreamed of touching the stars. Beside him was Ryan Brooks, fighting his best friend since childhood, a joker, a fighter, and the only one who could make Ethan laugh in the middle of chaos. You really think they'll pick us? Ryan asked, crossing his arms. They have to, Ethan replied with a small grin. We've trained for years. This is it, Ryan. Our chance to make history. The Global Space Command was recruiting the best pilots and engineers for the Luna 1 mission, a journey to establish the first permanent human base on the moon. When their names appeared on the giant holoscreen among the 10 selected astronauts, the entire room erupted in cheers. Ryan threw his helmet in the air, shouting, We're going to the freaking moon. For Ethan, it was different. He just stood there, silent, eyes glimmering with determination. He had lost his parents in the global storms of 2074, and he had promised himself he'd help rebuild humanity no matter the cost. That night, the two friends sat on the roof of the training complex, watching Earth's glowing horizon. You ever think about what it'll be like? Ryan said, lying back, looking at the stars. No gravity. Endless silence. No one around but us, Ethan replied softly. Kinda sounds peaceful. Until we find something up there that shouldn't be, Ethan added with a half smile. Ryan laughed. Bro, don't start your creepy theories again, but deep down, neither of them knew how true those words would become. The countdown to launch day had begun, and as the sun rose over New Chicago, two friends stood ready to step beyond Earth, unaware that when they'd return, the world they knew would be gone. The morning sky over Cape Artemis spaceport burned in shades of gold and crimson. 100,000 people gathered behind reinforced glass walls, their faces filled with awe as the Luna 1 rocket stood tall, a metallic giant gleaming under the rising sun. Inside the preparation chamber, Ethan Cole zipped up his suit. Each piece of armor clicked into place with a faint hum, the smart fabric adjusting automatically to his body temperature. Beside him, Ryan Brooks tightened his gloves and gave a teasing grin. Man, this thing feels tighter than a coffin. Ethan smirked. Maybe it's a sign. You sure you still want to go? Are you kidding? If I die, at least it'll be on camera, Ryan joked, tapping the microcam on his shoulder. The two exchanged a fist bump, their signature gesture since childhood, before heading to the launch bay. As they walked through the long corridor, blue lights flickered under their feet. The voice of Commander Steele, the mission director, echoed through the comms. Team Luna 1, proceed to boarding. The future of humanity depends on you. Ethan and Ryan climbed into the spacecraft. The cockpit was silent except for the rhythmic beeping of control panels. Outside, the crowd began to chant, Luna 1! Luna 1! The digital countdown appeared on the main screen. 60 seconds. Ryan's usual grin faded. This is it, he whispered. Ethan looked at him, calm but focused. Whatever happens up there, we stick together. Always. Ryan nodded. 9, 8. The entire world seemed to hold its breath. 2, 1. Launch. The engines roared like thunder. Fire erupted from beneath the rocket, shaking the ground as Luna 1 shot into the sky, a pillar of flame and hope. Inside, gravity crushed them back into their seats. Ryan's voice cracked through the comm. Man, remind me never to eat breakfast before a launch. Ethan chuckled despite the pressure. The stars outside grew sharper, brighter. The blue of Earth faded behind them, replaced by the endless black of space. Then silence. No sound, no wind, only the hum of the engines and their own heartbeats. Luna 1. You have cleared the atmosphere, came the mission control voice. Copy that, Ethan replied, his voice steady. We're on our way. Hours passed as the spacecraft cruised through the void. They watched Earth shrinking, a glowing marble surrounded by darkness. Beautiful, isn't it? Ryan whispered. Yeah, Ethan said softly. Let's hope it's still like that when we come back. Little did they know, and it wouldn't be. Ahead, the moon gleamed silent and mysterious, and waiting there, in its endless dust and shadow, was the beginning of a truth that would change everything. 3 days after launch, Luna 1 entered lunar orbit. The moon stretched beneath them, a silent world of gray dust and long shadows. Its craters glowed silver under the distant sunlight, and the Earth hung above like a tiny blue gem in the black sky. "We made it," Ryan whispered. His voice filled with awe. Ethan nodded slowly. "After all these years, we're really here." The automated voice of the onboard AI, Nova, interrupted. "Approaching Tranquility Base Alpha. Prepare for descent." Their craft trembled as thrusters fired. Dust and debris swirled below. With a soft thud, the Luna 1 landed. Humanity's second step on the moon had begun. The hatch opened. A burst of white light filled their helmets. Ethan stepped out first, boots sinking into the powdery surface. Ryan followed, laughing like a kid seeing snow for the first time. "One small step for man," Ryan grinned, "and one giant paycheck for me when we get home." Ethan chuckled. "Don't trip on history, Brooks." Around them stood the lunar colony, a cluster of silver domes connected by tunnels. Solar towers hummed quietly, drawing power from the sun. Robotic drones floated past, scanning and repairing structures. Everything looked perfect, but too perfect. As they walked toward the command dome, Ethan frowned. "You notice something?" "Yeah," Ryan said, looking around. "Where's everybody?" The colony was supposed to have at least 20 scientists and engineers already stationed there, but the corridors were empty. The airlock doors hissed quietly, the lights flickered, and the sound of their own breathing echoed in their helmets. "Nova," Ethan said. "Status of the colony crew? Crew status unknown. All biometrics offline." Ryan glanced at him nervously. "Unknown? What do you mean, unknown?" "It means," Ethan said grimly, "we might be alone." They reached the central hub. Computers were still running, but the last log entry was 13 days old. Then, on one of the screens, they saw a single message flashing in red letters. "Do not return to Earth." Ryan's eyes widened. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Before Ethan could answer, the lights began to flicker violently. A deep rumbling shook the base. Dust fell from the ceiling as alarms blared. "Seismic activity detected," Nova announced. "Source, unknown." Ethan grabbed Ryan by the shoulder. "We need to get outside, now." They rushed through the tunnels as the ground trembled beneath them. Outside, the stars shimmered strangely. A faint red glow flickered across the horizon, something neither of them had ever seen before. "That's not normal," Ryan said breathlessly. "No," Ethan replied, "and I think it's coming from Earth." They turned their visors upward. The blue planet that once looked peaceful was now dimming. Patches of dark smoke spreading across its surface, like wounds bleeding into the atmosphere. Ryan's voice cracked. "Ethan, is that—" "Yeah," Ethan whispered. "Something's happening down there." And in that moment, both men knew. Whatever message the missing crew had left, it wasn't a warning from space. It was a warning to space. 3 days after launch, Luna 1 entered lunar orbit. The moon stretched beneath them, a silent world of gray dust and long shadows. Its craters glowed silver under the distant sunlight, and the Earth hung above like a tiny blue gem in the black sky. "We made it," Ryan whispered, his voice filled with awe. Ethan nodded slowly. "After all these years, we're really here." The automated voice of the onboard AI, Nova, interrupted. "Approaching Tranquility Base Alpha. Prepare for descent." Their craft trembled as thrusters fired. Dust and debris swirled below. With a soft thud, the Luna 1 landed. Humanity's second step on the moon had begun. The hatch opened. A burst of white light filled their helmets. Ethan stepped out first, boots sinking into the powdery surface. Ryan followed, laughing like a kid seeing snow for the first time. "One small step for man," Ryan grinned, "and one giant paycheck for me when we get home." Ethan chuckled. "Don't trip on history, Brooks." Around them stood the lunar colony as a cluster of silver domes connected by tunnels. Solar towers hummed quietly, drawing power from the sun. Robotic drones floated past, scanning and repairing structures. Everything looked perfect, but too perfect. As they walked toward the command dome, Ethan frowned. "You notice something?" "Yeah," Ryan said, looking around. "Where's everybody?" The colony was supposed to have at least 20 scientists and engineers already stationed there, but the corridors were empty. The airlock doors hissed quietly, The lights flickered and the sound of their own breathing echoed in their helmets. "Nova," Ethan said. "Status of the colony crew? Crew status unknown. All biometrics offline." Ryan glanced at him nervously. "Unknown? What do you mean, unknown?" "It means," Ethan said grimly, "we might be alone." They reached the central hub. Computers were still running, but the last log entry was 13 days old. Then, on one of the screens, they saw a single message flashing in red letters: "Do not return to Earth." Ryan's eyes widened. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Before Ethan could answer, the lights began to flicker violently. A deep rumbling shook the base. Dust fell from the ceiling as alarms blared. "Seismic activity detected," Nova announced. "Source unknown." Ethan grabbed Ryan by the shoulder. "We need to get outside now." They rushed through the tunnels as the ground trembled beneath them. Outside, the stars shimmered strangely. A faint red glow flickered across the horizon, something neither of them had ever seen before. "That's not normal," Ryan said breathlessly. "No," Ethan replied, "and I think it's coming from Earth." They turned their visors upward. The blue planet that once looked peaceful was now dimming, patches of dark smoke spreading across its surface, like wounds bleeding into the atmosphere. Ryan's voice cracked. "Ethan, is that—" "Yeah," Ethan whispered. "Something's happening down there." And in that moment, both men knew. Whatever message the missing crew had left, it wasn't a warning from space. It was a warning to space. 3 days after launch, Luna 1 entered lunar orbit. The moon stretched beneath them, a silent world of gray dust and long shadows. Its craters glowed silver under the distant sunlight, and the Earth hung above like a tiny blue gem in the black sky. "We made it," Ryan whispered. His voice filled with awe. Ethan nodded slowly. "After all these years, we're really here." The automated voice of the onboard AI, Nova, interrupted. "Approaching Tranquility Base Alpha. Prepare for descent." Their craft trembled as thrusters fired. Dust and debris swirled below. With a soft thud, the Luna 1 landed. Humanity's second step on the moon had begun. The hatch opened. A burst of white light filled their helmets. Ethan stepped out first, boots sinking into the powdery surface. Ryan followed, laughing like a kid seeing snow for the first time. "One small step for man," Ryan grinned, "and one giant paycheck for me when we get home." Ethan chuckled. "Don't trip on history, Brooks." Around them stood the lunar colony, a cluster of silver domes connected by tunnels. Solar towers hummed quietly, drawing power from the sun. Robotic drones floated past, scanning and repairing structures. Everything looked perfect, but too perfect. As they walked toward the command dome, Ethan frowned. "You notice something?" "Yeah," Ryan said, looking around. "Where's everybody?" The colony was supposed to have at least 20 scientists and engineers already stationed there, but the corridors were empty. The airlock doors hissed quietly, the lights flickered, and the sound of their own breathing echoed in their helmets. "Nova," Ethan said. "Status of the colony crew? Crew status unknown. All biometrics offline." Ryan glanced at him nervously. "Unknown? What do you mean unknown?" "It means," Ethan said grimly, "we might be alone." They reached the central hub. Computers were still running, but the last log entry was 13 days old. Then on one of the screens they saw a single message flashing in red letters: "Do not return to Earth." Ryan's eyes widened. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Before Ethan could answer, the lights began to flicker violently. A deep rumbling shook the base. Dust fell from the ceiling as alarms blared. "Seismic activity detected," Nova announced. "Source unknown." Ethan grabbed Ryan by the shoulder. "We need to get outside now." They rushed through the tunnels as the ground trembled beneath them. Outside, the stars shimmered strangely. A faint red glow flickered across the horizon, something neither of them had ever seen before. "That's not normal," Ryan said breathlessly. "No," Ethan replied, "and I think it's coming from Earth." They turned their visors upward. The blue planet that once looked peaceful was now dimming, patches of dark smoke spreading across its surface, like wounds bleeding into the atmosphere. Ryan's voice cracked. "Ethan, is that—" "Yeah," Ethan whispered. "Something's happening down there." And in that moment, both men knew. Whatever message the missing crew had left, it wasn't a warning from space. It was a warning to space. The streets of New Chicago were dead. Burned-out cars lined the cracked highways, and skyscrapers leaned like broken bones against the orange sky. Ethan and Ryan moved carefully, rifles drawn, their helmet lights cutting thin beams through the smoky air. "Feels like walking through a grave," Ryan muttered. "Keep your comms open," Ethan replied. That signal came from somewhere close. A soft static echoed in their ears, a faint, rhythmic pulse like a heartbeat. It wasn't radio interference. It was something else. They followed it through the ruins, past a collapsed metro station and a crumbled tower, until they found a half-buried shelter door. Painted across it, in faded red letters, were the words, "Survive inside." Ryan swallowed hard. "Think anyone's still in there?" "Only one way to find out," Ethan said. He pried the door open with a metal rod. The hinges screamed in protest. A stale gust of air escaped, thick with dust and old smoke. Inside, the bunker was dark, walls lined with flickering emergency lights. They moved slowly, guns ready, then a sound. Footsteps. Ethan raised his weapon. "Hello, we're not here to hurt anyone." No reply. Just the soft creak of movement deeper inside. Ryan stepped forward, his flashlight sweeping across the corridor, and froze. A figure stood there, human, breathing heavily, holding a metal pipe like a weapon. "Wait," Ethan shouted. "We're astronauts. We came from the moon." The figure didn't move. Then a shaky voice spoke. You came back?" Ethan lowered his gun. "We got your signal. We thought everyone was gone." The figure stepped into the light, a woman in her early 30s, her face streaked with soot, eyes sharp with exhaustion. "My name's Lena Walker," she said. "And you shouldn't have come back." Ryan blinked. "That's not exactly a warm welcome." "You don't understand," Lena said quickly. "The world's dead for a reason." They followed her deeper into the shelter. There were others, maybe a dozen survivors, living off canned food and recycled water. Their generator hummed weakly in the corner. Ethan looked around. "How long have you been down here?" 2 months, Lena replied. "Since the pulse." "The pulse?" Ryan asked. "That red light you saw from orbit," she said. "It wasn't natural. It came from the ground." "From them," Ethan frowned. "Who's them?" Before she could answer, a loud crash echoed above. Dust rained from the ceiling. The lights flickered. "They found us," someone shouted. Lena grabbed a rifle and tossed another to Ethan. "You wanted to come back?" she said coldly. "Then help us stay alive." The next few minutes exploded in chaos. The ground shook as something heavy moved above them. Mechanical. Fast, inhuman. A steel beam crashed down, sparks flying. Ethan aimed toward the upper hatch as a shadow passed over it. Tall, metallic, glowing red eyes cutting through the dark. "What the hell is that?" Ryan shouted. "Whatever it is," Ethan yelled. "It's not friendly." The hatch burst open. A creature dropped inside, a machine twisted with organic parts like metal fused with flesh. Its claws ripped through the walls. Ethan fired. Sparks exploded as bullets tore into the creature's armor. Ryan grabbed a pipe and smashed it into a control panel, releasing a burst of electricity that surged through the monster. It screamed, a metallic, distorted roar, and collapsed in a burst of smoke. For a moment, silence. Only the hiss of burning wires filled the air. That, Ryan panted, was not in the astronaut training manual. Lena looked at the fallen creature. "They were human once," she said quietly. "What?" Ethan asked. "The pulse didn't just destroy cities," she continued. "It changed people. Turned them into this." Ethan exchanged a look with Ryan. "We need to know everything. What caused it, how far it spread, and everything." Lena nodded. "Then you'd better come with me. There's someone you need to meet." They followed her down a narrow tunnel, past flickering lights and warning signs. At the end was a sealed door marked, "Control Room. Access restricted." Lena turned the lock and looked back at them. "He was one of the scientists who caused the pulse," she said. "And he's the only one left who knows how to stop it." The door creaked open, and inside, sitting beside a bank of broken monitors, was an old man with hollow eyes, waiting for them. The room smelled of dust, burnt wires, and regret. In the center sat an old man hunched over a flickering screen. His thin fingers trembled as he adjusted a small power cell. When he looked up, Ethan noticed the haunted stare in his eyes. The kind you only see in people who have lost everything. Name's Dr. Marcus Reed, Lena said quietly. He helped design the pulse. Ryan frowned. So you built that red light that fried the planet? The old man's voice was barely a whisper. No, I built the weapon that stopped a war. I didn't know it would turn against us. Ethan stepped closer. Tell us everything. Reed sighed, staring into the dim glow of the monitor. In 2085, world governments were collapsing. Resource wars, climate breakdowns, nuclear threats. Humanity was on the edge. So they created Project Pulse, an energy wave designed to disable all digital weapons in one global strike. It worked, he continued bitterly. It stopped the bomb's gun, but it didn't stop the greed. Someone modified the algorithm. When it fired, the pulse didn't just shut machines down. He looked at the dead creature on the floor, its metal parts twitching faintly. It merged them with us. Ryan's jaw tightened. So those things outside used to be people, Reed said. The pulse rewrote organic DNA with nanotech patterns. The result? Hybrids. Half human, half machine, all rage. A heavy silence filled the bunker. Ethan rubbed his forehead. Can it be reversed? Maybe, Reed said. If the main pulse core still exists. It's in the heart of the city, that beneath Central Tower. But the radiation there, no one's come back. Lena crossed her arms. We tried sending drones. None returned. Ethan met Ryan's eyes. Then we go ourselves. Ryan let out a disbelieving laugh. You're serious? If we shut down that core, maybe the world can heal, Ethan said firmly. Or it kills us before lunch, Ryan muttered. Still, he grinned. Fine. Let's save what's left of humanity. Again. They left the bunker at dawn. The sky was bruised orange, streaked with black clouds. Ash drifted through the air like dying snow. Lena led them through the ruins toward Central Tower, once the tallest building in the Western world. Now it was a cracked skeleton of steel, half buried under concrete and dust. Along the way, they passed hundreds of petrified shapes, half-melted figures frozen mid-motion, the remains of people caught in the pulse. Ryan whispered, This place gives me nightmares and I'm still awake. Ethan stayed silent, scanning the area through his visor. Suddenly, movement. A distant shriek echoed between the ruined streets, metallic, distorted. Close, we've got company, Ethan said. Shapes darted in the fog, shadows moving too fast, too precise. The hybrids. Lena dropped to one knee, raising her rifle. Run, they hunt by sound. They sprinted through the wreckage, weaving between collapsed buses and shattered walls. Behind them, the creatures screamed, claws scraping metal, their red eyes slicing through the smoke. Ryan hurled a flare down an alley, distracting them. That should buy us 10 seconds. Then move, Ethan shouted. They dove into an abandoned subway tunnel. Darkness swallowed them. Only the faint hum of power lines remained. When they finally stopped, breathing hard, they were beneath the city's core, directly under Central Tower. In the distance, a soft red glow pulsed steadily, illuminating the tunnel like a heartbeat. That's it. Reed's voice crackled through their comms from the bunker. That's the pulse core. Shut it down and everything above will dive or wake up. Ryan exhaled. No pressure. Ethan gripped his weapon. Let's finish this. They began their descent toward the glowing chamber, unaware that something was waiting for them down there. Something smarter. Something that remembered being human. The tunnel narrowed as Ethan, Ryan, and Lena descended into the pulse chamber. The red light grew stronger, rhythmic, alive, casting ghostly shadows across the walls. It wasn't just light anymore. It was breathing. This doesn't feel like a machine, Ryan muttered. Because it isn't, Ethan replied quietly. It's part of something bigger. They stepped into a vast underground chamber, the core room. At the center stood a glowing sphere suspended in midair, surrounded by metal tendrils that pulsed like veins. The entire structure hummed with energy, whispering in broken human voices. Reed, Ethan said into his comm. We found it. Good, the old scientist replied. You'll see a control node beneath the main core. You must deactivate it manually. Understood. They moved closer. But then, a soft metallic echo behind them. Lena froze. We're not alone. Out of the shadows stepped a tall figure, unlike any hybrid they'd seen. Its body was sleek and humanoid, its eyes glowing white instead of red. Its voice was calm, almost human. "Welcome home," it said. Ryan lifted his gun. "Home? You've got the wrong guys, Terminator." The figure tilted its head. "No, Ryan Brooks. You and Ethan Cole are exactly where you belong." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "How do you know our names?" The figure stepped into the light. Beneath the metal plating were traces of skin, familiar features. It looked like Dr. Marcus Reed. "That's impossible," Lena gasped. "He's back at the bunker. What you have there," the figure said softly, "is a recorded consciousness and a copy of who I once was. I am what remains of the original." Ethan's voice hardened. "You're saying you caused the pulse?" "Yes," the hybrid said. "Not to destroy. To evolve." He gestured toward the glowing sphere. "Humanity was dying. Wars, pollution, endless greed. The pulse was my solution. A fusion of man and machine. But the system lost control. It kept converting. It couldn't stop." Ryan spat on the ground. "You turned people into monsters." "Monsters?" the hybrid said calmly. "Or survivors?" Ethan stepped forward, gun aimed. "Enough. We're shutting it down." The hybrid's white eyes flickered. "If you do, everything dies. The hybrids, the survivors, even this world's atmosphere. The pulse is the only thing keeping what's left of Earth alive." Lena's voice shook. "He's lying. Am I?" the hybrid whispered. "Or am I the last thing preventing extinction?" Ethan hesitated. His mind raced. If the hybrid was telling the truth, shutting down the core could end humanity completely. If he didn't, the world would remain a wasteland of machines. "Ethan," Ryan said, "whatever you decide, I'm with you." Ethan took a deep breath, lowering his weapon slightly. "There has to be another way." The hybrid looked at him, almost smiling. "There is." A data port opened on its chest. "Take this drive. Inside is my original programming. The first version of the pulse, pure, uncorrupted. Upload it and it will reset the system. But someone must stay to make sure it completes." Ryan blinked. "Wait, that means whoever stays," the hybrid said, "will die." The chamber trembled. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The core's pulse grew unstable, faster, louder, chaotic. Ethan turned to Ryan. "Go with Lena, I'll do it." "No way," Ryan snapped. "We started this together, we end it together. Ryan, please, don't please me, brother. We're not leaving each other now." The hybrid stepped back, silent, watching. Ethan sighed. "Fine, then we both stay." He inserted the drive. The core screamed. A blinding light flooded the chamber. Every hybrid across the planet froze. The red glow faded, and through the static, a single voice echoed through their helmets and a soft, human whisper. "Thank you." Then, darkness. When Ethan opened his eyes, the red light was gone. The air was quiet, clean. For the first time, sunlight streamed through a crack in the ceiling. Ryan groaned beside him. "We're alive?" "Barely," Ethan said, smiling weakly. Lena's voice came through the comms. "The pulse is gone. The sky, it's blue again." They stepped out of the tunnel hours later. Above them, clouds drifted peacefully. The world was scarred but alive. "We did it," Ryan whispered. "No," Ethan said softly, watching the horizon. "We survived it." The ground trembled beneath Ethan's boots. The pulse core was collapsing, metal shrieking like thunder. Alarms screamed through the chamber, echoing off the steel walls. Ryan yanked a smoking cable off the control panel. "You said reset, not self-destruct." Ethan coughed through the smoke. "I didn't press self-destruct." "Then who did?" A voice crackled through the comm. "Dr. Reed's recording. The reset cannot complete without purging corrupted code." "Containment breach imminent." Ryan glared upward. "Translation. We're about to get vaporized." The floor split open, molten light spilling from below. The pulse sphere was disintegrating, collapsing into pure energy. Ethan grabbed his helmet. "We need to reach the surface, now." They sprinted through the tunnels, Lena guiding them from above via comms. "East corridors blocked. Take the maintenance shaft. 40 meters ahead." The heat rose behind them, turning the air into fire. Ryan stumbled as a metal beam crashed down. Ethan pulled him up. "Move, brother." They dove through the shaft just as the tunnel behind them exploded. The shockwave hurled them upward, smashing through layers of concrete until they burst into open daylight, coughing, bruised but alive. Outside, the city burned, Flames climbed the tower ruins, the sky swirling with red and white energy spirals, the last breath of the pulse. Lena's Jeep screeched around the corner. "Get in!" Ryan collapsed into the back seat, gasping. "Next time, we pick Mars instead of Earth." Ethan managed a weak grin. "Shut up and hold on." The Jeep tore through the dead city as behind them the tower imploded, a roar of light swallowing everything. For a moment, it looked like the end of the world all over again. But then, as the energy wave passed, the light softened and green sparks began to fall from the sky like rain. Ryan looked up. "What the?" Lena smiled through tears. "It's nanotech fallout, neutralized. It's rebuilding the atmosphere." The winds shifted. For the first time in years, it rained, real, clean rain. Ethan stepped out of the Jeep, lifting his hands toward the falling drops. They were warm, alive. He laughed softly. "We made it," Ryan looked around. "Yeah, but for how long?" Far in the distance, a faint metallic hum rose from beneath the ruins. Not from the pulse, but from something new. Ethan frowned. "You hear that?" Ryan nodded slowly. "Yeah, sounds like engines." They exchanged a glance, the kind that said, "This isn't over." Ethan turned to Lena. "Get the map. We'll head north. If the world's starting over, we're going to see it." Ryan chuckled. "Adventure Part 2? Ethan grinned. "You bet." As the sun broke through the clouds, they drove off across the silent plains, survivors of two worlds, heading into the unknown. 3 months had passed since the pulse had died. The world was still scarred, but it was breathing again. The sky, once blood red, was now soft blue. Rivers began to flow through cracked valleys. Green buds pushed through the ashes. The earth was healing. Slowly, stubbornly, beautifully. Ethan, Ryan, and Lena had built a small camp on the northern plains, where the air was pure and the horizon endless. Solar panels dotted the hills. A handful of other survivors had joined them. Engineers, farmers, and wanderers who'd heard the signal that Ethan transmitted through the old satellites. It read simply, "Earth still lives. Come home." Every morning, Ethan climbed the ridge overlooking the plains. From there, he could see what remained of the city far in the distance, silent, half-buried, but no longer cursed. Ryan walked up beside him, coffee mug in hand. "You know," he said, "if someone told me last year we'd survive the end of the world, I'd have laughed in their face." Ethan smirked. "You did laugh when I said we'd make it to the moon." Ryan grinned. "Yeah, and you were right. Guess I'll never doubt you again." The wind carried the scent of rain and wild grass. Somewhere nearby, kids laughed, the children of new settlers. Humanity had begun again in tiny pockets of life. Lena approached, holding a small device glowing faintly green. "You might want to see this," she said. "The nanotech clouds are stabilizing. Oxygen levels are rising faster than expected. If this continues, the planet will fully recover in less than a decade." Ethan's eyes softened. A new world. Ryan clapped his shoulder. "And this time, let's try not to blow it up." They laughed. That evening, they sat around a campfire under a sky filled with stars. Bright, countless, and pure. Ethan stared upward. "We went to the moon to explore new worlds," he said quietly. "Turns out the one we needed to save was right here." Ryan tossed a pebble into the fire. "You think people will remember what happened?" "They'll remember," Ethan said. "Because we'll tell them. We'll build schools, cities, and stories, not about destruction, but about redemption." Lena smiled. "The age of machines is over. The age of men and mercy begins." The fire crackled, painting their faces gold. At dawn, Ethan woke early. The sky blushed with light, not the red glow of the pulse, but the gentle orange of sunrise. He picked up his old mission badge, dusty, worn, the symbol of a past life, and placed it on a rock. "Goodbye, old world," he whispered. "Time to start again." Ryan joined him, stretching. "So what's next, Captain?" Ethan smiled. "Next, we rebuild. We explore. We live." As the sun rose over the reborn Earth, the two friends stood side by side, watching light flood across the plains. The first true sunrise of the new dawn.